Welcome. All right. So I think we have pretty good critical mass. If I don't see any objections, we can go ahead and get started. And this session will be recorded, so and shared on our website. So if there's anything that's you've missed, don't worry about it. It will be available for you to access at a later time. But welcome. Good afternoon. We are so honored to be in this space with you, to be able to just share about this opportunity that is really near and dear to our hearts. This is something that we've dreamed up, and are excited to be able to offer support, community, and resources for women of color-owned businesses with a focus on Black women entrepreneurs as we try to cultivate change in our communities. This info session is going to be about our Founders Grants, which is our first grant initiative coming from the Wild Seed effort. My name is Brianna Hawkins, and I'm a consultant with the Wild Seed team. We'll be together for about an hour and a half, and the first part of our meeting will be focused specifically on the grants and other ways for folks to be able to get involved in the network. The next half of our meeting will be a branding workshop for those who are interested in being able to strengthen their ability to tell their story, as well as improve their brand to engage a broader audience. But before we get started, we did just want to create a container for all of us to be able to maximize our time together. So we came up with some shared agreements that we would love for you guys to really just respect and embrace throughout our time together this afternoon. The first is around mutual respect. We're asking that, attendees be muted throughout most of the meeting, but we will have a designated Q&A time for us to be able to answer questions, to be able to bring up comments, and to engage in dialogue with each other. We have a lot of information that we're going to be sharing. And so we want to make sure that you also are able to ask questions along the way. So we encourage you to use the chat box to submit any questions or comments, and we'll be tracking those and bringing them up during the Q&A time so that we can engage in conversation together. If you are interested in participating in the social media audit that we'll be having as a part of the branding workshop, please feel free to send a direct chat to Brittany on our team. You can wave from the Wild Seed team. Brittany is going to be leading that portion of the workshop. And so if you send her a direct message with your social media link or value proposition, you can get some free game during our workshop on how to strengthen your brand as a part of our time together today. And then, as I mentioned before, but those who are just joining, this webinar will be recorded. The recording does not include your faces. It only includes the faces of those who are speaking, as well as the slides. So feel free to come off camera if you feel comfortable. All right. So our agenda for this afternoon together really focuses on us introducing ourselves. We are a new initiative, and so we'd like to tell you a little bit more about us and our origin story, as well as, again, the many opportunities for you to engage in the broader Wild Seed network. We'll do a detailed deep dive on how to apply for our Founders Grants, and then, again, our workshop. So I'm actually going to kick it off to my colleague, Morgan Payton, to introduce herself as one of the architects of the Wild Seed Initiative, and before we get started. So Morgan.
Hi, everyone. My name is Morgan Payton. I'm so happy to be here, so happy to be in community with you all. I am the founder of Morganite Writing Company, where we work to ensure that passion-driven organizations like yours have the funding and support they need to advance positive change in their communities. I am a professional storyteller, and I will be supporting our Wild Seed community with strategic communications and content creation for all audiences. I'm so thrilled to be here with you guys today.
Thank you, Morgan. And again, my name is Brianna Hawkins, and I'm actually a consultant and co-founder of Fractal Strategies. We are a women of color-owned social impact consulting group that thinks like creative problem solvers and leads with emotional intelligence. We start with empathy, getting curious about our clients' needs, and then we guide them from challenges to change outcomes with data-backed strategies. So you can think of us as a catalyst behind your organization's mission. I personally am an experienced social justice and policy professional, and I'll be providing strategic thought partnership, organizational culture, wellness, and maximizing social impact through the technical assistance through this program. And I'll kick it off to my colleague, Debbie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Debbie Sheen. I'm the other co-founder and principal at Fractal Strategies with Brianna. And my experience comes from a social justice background as well. And I love to bring people together and facilitate groups and teams and utilize creative problem-solving skills with data-backed strategies to solve our challenges. And I'll kick it off to Brittany.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany Daykoff. I'm a trained photographer and visual storyteller. I'm here to enhance your brand and marketing strategy to effectively communicate your mission and engage with your audience. At Blacklight Imaging, we celebrate people who are extraordinary, people of color, and I just help integrate your brand strategy and just help you engage with your audience more effectively. So I can't wait to see your Instagram bios. You guys are sending me your Instagram, but please don't forget to send your mission statement with it. Thank you.
Thanks, Brittany, and thanks, Morgan and Debbie, as well. So we'll be your presenters for today, and I'm sure y'all know there's a whole team of folks behind us that's really helping to make today possible. And we definitely want to give a shout out to the team as well. So grateful for Janine Morrison, our project manager. She's with the Fractal Strategies team, and she is the person behind the info at Wildseed email, our phone number, hotline number, who's answering all your questions about the application, as well as providing backbone support on really organizing and cultivating the applications that we're getting. So really grateful for her support. We also have Wesner Florima Jr. He's from the Blacklight team. He's the man responsible for all the visuals, the images, our social media presence. His vision has really helped to bring our dream to life. And so we're super grateful. I hear a lot of people like, who does y'all's visuals? Like, they look really polished. And so that's all Wesner. Jackie is also with Blacklight, and she's providing project management on our outreach and communication. So she's ensuring that we are consistent and on time with how we are publicizing about these opportunities in our work. And then Malik Howard, who's been with us from the beginning, and he is our web developer and is responsible for creating our website and putting the application on our website. So really grateful to the team, and just want to take some time to pause and see if y'all have anything you want to share before we get started. Okay.
I'll drop my information in the chat.
Thanks, Malik. Yes, he has an amazing website. So if you're looking for somebody, he's a great person to go to.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jacqueline, the project manager. I just want to say thank you for being with us today. And we are really grateful for having you join us in helping us establish your businesses. And this is really, dream work to be able to work with so many amazing women and to work with your businesses. So we hope to hear from you more throughout the webinar and beyond. So thanks for being with us today.
Beyond, period. I love that, Jackie. Thank you. All right. So a little bit about our initiative. The Wildseed is a new initiative that offers grants, growth-focused workshops, and business development services to women of color, with the key focus on addressing the needs of Black women entrepreneurs in Los Angeles. This project was launched in response to Morgan, Debbie, Brittany, and my enduring belief in the essential importance of women founders, particularly Black women founders, to create community change and transformation. Through our respective fields of service, we've witnessed the disproportionate and unique barriers that women founders contend with, and developed the Wildseed to fill in where existing services for entrepreneurs fall short. We are dedicated to uplifting women and their work, because we recognize that the success of Black women in particular is often a catalyst for the upward mobility of families and communities. Research finds that investing in small Black businesses protects communities from the uprooting effects of gentrification and displacement, because we hire locally, we're invested in the community, and we're often from the communities that we serve. So the Wildseed is about transformative justice and catalyzing change in our communities through entrepreneurial solutions that heal in ways that only women of color entrepreneurs can. And our motto is from soil to sky, nurturing businesses seated in community. The name of the Wild Seed actually comes from an Octavia Butler book, Wild Seed, which is about the resilience and superhuman force of a Black woman who uses love and her gift of adaptability to save herself, her legacy, and her community. So I hope that sounds familiar, because we all see ourselves as wild seeds, growing opportunities and a better future in our communities through our creative ideas and innovative solutions. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to Debbie, who's going to talk a little bit more about our initiative and ways that you can get involved.
Yeah, thank you, Brianna. It really is an initiative that comes from our heart and long hours of conversation about how can we utilize our talents and passions to serve the women in our community and do the work that we love to do. So we partnered with LA County's Justice, Care, and Opportunities Department to provide around $400,000 in grants over a 3-year period. And using some of those funds, we'll also be offering growth-focused workshops and business development services to minority-owned businesses over the next 3 years. And so we kicked off this initiative in July 2024. You're catching us at the beginning, and this is a great time to get involved with the network and the community that we're building. I wanted to overview the Founders Grants first. Within the Founders Grant category, there are 3 types of grants that you can apply for. Capacity grants, which are up to $3,000. $3,000. Is it $30,000 or 3,000? Sorry, just to fact check.
3.
3, okay. This is really gap capital for businesses that have small scale, immediate one-time financial needs that go towards the sustainability of businesses. We also offer catalyst grants for up to $10,000, which are mid-sized grants that can be used for personnel and other business resources that are for businesses that want to scale their services and offerings. And then we also offer capital grants that are one-time expenses that can be used to expand your business production or services. For our grantees, we're also offering technical assistance from the entire Wild Seed team that just introduced ourselves to you. And so each grantee will receive an optional technical assistance for up to 100 hours in business coaching, grant writing, marketing, branding, and other core business services. And this is an in-kind technical assistance service, and it's free of charge at no cost to our grantees and valued at around $10,000. And so the technical assistance is provided by all the women on the team. It was important that we all bring our own lived experiences as women of color to our approach in providing you with support, our own experiences as women navigating entrepreneurship and businesses. And Brittany and her team from Blacklight Imaging will be creating a branding and marketing curriculum that will inform grantees about the foundations of branding, how to develop your own brand strategy, visual and verbal branding elements and marketing essentials, and different types of marketing techniques. Brittany mentioned she is an amazing photographer and can also provide you with corporate headshots. For Morganite writing, Morgan is an amazing storyteller, and that is her gift. And she can support you with any fund development needs, including fund development planning and strategy, as well as grant writing. There is also an area of certifications that you can receive for being a minority-owned business, woman-owned business, or a small business owner. And those types of certifications with public agencies can land you different tracks. And so Morgan will also support with that type of certification. She will also support with copywriting for any of the marketing and business planning work that you do, and utilizing those writing also for social impact. And as for fractal strategies, Brianna and I will focus on business coaching and strategy. So we can take a look at your revenue generation plan, work with you to think through your goals and how to create a work plan. Something that's really important to us as a company is prioritizing work-life balance and wellness. And so that is going to all come into the picture when we're talking about what is your business strategy? We also want to support you with your organizational development and implementing and integrating this culture of wellness into your work. How do you do this with your staff and in your recruitment and in your business, and how you convey yourself to your clients? And of course, an essential component of that is getting the work done, which is project management. I want to also want to talk about why this work is so important, because as entrepreneurs, we know that it can feel very isolating to work for your dream. We all have followed this dream for many different reasons and opened our businesses, but it can be an isolating experience, and your voice might be the only one that you hear as you're kind of grinding in the day-to-day. So we want to uplift the story of your drive and the creativity that you all have in this room, that of everyone attending in this room today. We want to eliminate those silos and bind ourselves closer together to one another in our parallel path forward. And so whether or not you receive a founder's grant in this round, please note that there are 2 more years of this grant coming out. There are also several other ways for you to get involved with the Wild Seed community. If you sign up for our newsletter, you can hear about our free events and other tips and suggestions that we'll put into the newsletter. We'll also have some free workshops that are open to everyone that are interested in learning more and getting connected with other women in the network. And then we also have our rapid response grants. So our rapid response grants are going to be distributed beginning in January. It will be on a rolling basis. These are small $1,000 emergency funds that will be used for any rapid response needs that you have that come up. We all know things happen in a business, and sometimes we need to just get through that, push through that month to get to the next month. As part of these rapid response grants, you can also attend our free technical assistance workshops, and we'll also be providing free networking opportunities and events. So hopefully you can join us for those. And as a part of the emergency release, rapid response grants, we would like for you to attend at least one of these workshops to get more immersed into our network and community. Okay. And then finally, a bit more about our workshops and networking series. So all of our workshops are free and anyone can join. We will have virtual events as well as in-person events. For our free workshops, we will be offering technical assistance and instruction related to those core business services that I mentioned earlier. We will open it up to about 40 attendees. The Wild Seed newsletter is a place where you can hear about regular updates from us. We hope to be able to share some exciting news about our grantees and what they've been able to do with this funding that's been provided. We'll also share more information about upcoming grant cycles so that you can tap into those. And then in terms of the Wild Seed networking events, we want to also host an opportunity for those in-person connections. And this will be next year in 2025, which you will also hear about if you sign up for our newsletter. And so I'll kick it back over to Brianna to give you some more information about this round of grant funding.
Thank you so much, Debbie. And just encouraging folks, as questions come up, which I'm sure they will during this section, feel free to post them in the chat. We will be responding to them via chat and also during the Q&A session. So our round 1 grants, the application deadline is September 13th, 2024. That's a Friday at 11:59 p.m. Try to submit early. You know, Murphy's Law, anything that can go wrong will sometimes. And so technology issues, whatever, our application portal will close at that time. So we just want to make sure that you're able to get in and submit, you know, all the hard work that you put into the application before the deadline. And again, these grants will be up to $20,000. We'll be giving six total grants this cycle. In addition to that, we'll provide in-kind business coaching and again, the free networking services. And you can access the application on our website at www.thewildseed.org. As far as eligibility requirements, we're prioritizing these funds for adults who identify as women or non-binary, who are from Los Angeles County. This is, or who are headquartered in Los Angeles County. This is LA County funds, and so we want to make sure that these are going to service and benefit Angelenos, including business owners who are invested in the LA County area. We're also utilizing these funds to invest in communities of need. And so we're able to determine that using the Jenny and Jesse Index, where it identifies communities in moderate, high, or highest need. And you can access that index via our website. It's on the FAQ, it's on the guidelines to apply, as well as the application itself. And that'll let you know if the neighborhood falls into moderate, high, or highest. And those determinations are based on socioeconomic factors, including justice involvement, as well as demographic factors. We also are prioritizing these funds for small businesses and nonprofit social enterprises. So by small business, we mean that your annual revenue is around 5 million or less, or you have 10 or fewer employees. And there's some wiggle room around that. And we give you an opportunity to explain if you still qualify as a small business, but your revenue is more, or you have more employees. Like maybe you have higher operating costs. So you have a lot of employees, but not a lot of profit or discretionary revenue. And so you can explain that, and we're also open to nonprofit social enterprises as well. So you can be a nonprofit organization, but you need to have a revenue generating mechanism that extends beyond grant funding, that either comes from sales of products or sales of services. And so their 501c3s can do that. If you've heard of Homeboy Industries and others where they're creating products and selling them, but they're still a nonprofit, those are the types of enterprises that we want to prioritize for this funding. You also need to be independently owned and operated. Now, that means that you can have a business partner, you can have a couple of business partners, but you can't be a part of a franchise, right? Your company can't be a part of a bigger conglomeration or group of businesses. It needs to be independent, and oftentimes independently owned and operated businesses, the owner is also the founder, who's also the primary person responsible for managing the business. And then last but not least, we are prioritizing these or distributing these funds to businesses that can demonstrate a positive social impact and that they're values driven. And positive social impact, can look like who you hire, hiring people from the community and maybe those with barriers to employment, or the fact that you have scaled pricing for people based on, the communities that they come from or their income, or that your services themselves are meeting the specific needs of populations that have been historically impacted by systemic inequity. All of those things show values that extend beyond just benefiting you as an individual business, but that ripple out into the communities that you serve. So those are just the requirements. In addition to the requirements, we also have additional priorities where it doesn't necessarily mean if you don't meet these that you are ineligible, but it does mean that we're prioritizing funds for folks who also meet any of these additional components, including being system impacted. This funding comes from the Justice and Care Department. They are prioritizing alternative pathways away from the incarceration system. And so folks who are justice involved or involved with other systems that have historically disproportionately impacted communities of color, like foster care and others, we want to prioritize these funds for you. In addition, if you have barriers to employment, so maybe you have differences in ability, or there's a language barrier, or other factors that impact your ability to be able to secure gainful employment through other pathways, this is for you. We're trying to prioritize these funds for those who really need it the most, as well as businesses experiencing financial hardship. Employers, we found that employers have a deeper impact in the community. And so if you're hiring folks for your work, there's some priority there, as well as Black African American women or non-binary folks are strongly encouraged to apply. And again, this is prioritizing these funds for those who need it the most. We've seen that Black women business owners are actually, there are more Black women business owners in this country than other demographics, yet Black women business owners are the least funded in the country. So there's a huge disparity, and we're hoping to be able to close that gap through these resources. Some examples of the types of ways that you can utilize these funds. Again, the capacity grants are really for like one-time, short-term, small expenses that are needed to help sustain your business, and it's up to $3,000. So things like rent, utilities, supplies, small equipment, moving expenses, those that can help sustain your business. Those types of expenses would be allowed. And again, these are just examples. We're not saying if your expenses don't fall within these categories, you won't get funded or even prioritized. We're just trying to give you some information to help inform what we mean when we're describing these types of grants. Catalyst grants are really about scaling your business. So things like staffing, salaries, maybe there's a big event that you want to put on or some type of production that can help to take your business to the next level. Maybe you want to bring on some consultants or subcontracts that can help to advise a new strategy for your business, or you need some equipment that falls within that category to help with scaling. And then the capital grants are really for, if you're really trying to take your business to the next level by investing in capital or resources that can help support your space. So things like large scale equipment, permitting and licensing fees, or even tenant improvements for a space that you might be renting. What you cannot use these funds for are gambling, to purchase land or a building, alcohol, goods or services that don't just benefit a person that has nothing to do with the business. So you can't be like, oh, I want to get my hair done for a wedding, so I want to use these funds for that. Like, that's not what this is for. Housing, and you can't use it for housing for businesses, employees, or lobbying. Again, these are county funds, so we are subject to the same requirements that other county contractors are subject to, and that means that these particular categories we would not be able to use the funds for. You can submit the grant on our website. It's an online application. You're not able to save the application before you submit. So we highly suggest you drafting your application ahead of time. We have provided a Microsoft Word document that has the questions. I believe, Malik, I sent it to you. If it's not there now, it can be uploaded to our website within the next few days so that you can utilize that to draft your responses. And then you can also reach out to us if you have any questions about the application along the way. Janine is very responsive and we'll be able to get back to you usually within 24 to 48 hours on any questions that you have. We have a FAQ, a frequently asked questions document that also might be able to answer some of your questions as you're going through the process. And we also have a guide, guidelines to apply, that includes some of this information on the eligibility, on how we're prioritizing applications, etc. There are some required attachments that I just want to emphasize because we've been receiving grant applications and some of them have been incomplete. And if they're incomplete, unfortunately, we won't be able to move them through the review process. So I just want to make sure that you all are uploading your business documentation. It can be a license, it can be your EIN number, it can just be anything that shows that you are a registered business within Los Angeles County, or a 501c3 organization if you're a nonprofit social enterprise. We also need you to include your most recent tax filing or recent financial statements. Now, we have been getting a lot of questions about this. If you don't have your taxes done, that's totally fine. A lot of folks don't, and that's okay. But we need something that tells about where your business is financially. So you can include financial statements that might be balance sheets, income statements, cash flow statements. And these do not need to be prepared by an auditor or an accountant. They can, be prepared by yourself. You just need to make sure that the information is accurate and up to date. And then if you have a business plan, this is not a requirement, but we encourage you to upload that as well. It's a helpful resource for us to get a better understanding of your business, as well as social media. That also helps us to be able to understand your story and who you are. So I'm almost stopped talking. I just have these key dates, and then I'm gonna kick it over to Morgan to answer some of the questions. We already see a few questions coming up in the chat. But the application deadline is basically 2 weeks from tomorrow. So Friday, September the 13th. Again, 11:59 p.m. is when it closes. So get it in and try to get it in early. We will notify you all of your of award status sometime within the first week of October. It give or take. There might be a week before, it might be a week after. We're going to be working really diligently to get this going as soon as possible because we know y'all need the funds as soon as possible. But we also need time to be able to really effectively assess and review the applications that come in. We will distribute the funds before the end of the year. So no later than December of this year. For most of the grants. For the capital grant, your fund will actually be distributed in 2 payments, one in December and then the other within Q1 of 2025. So half 10,000 in December and then 10,000 within Q1 of 2025. And then the grant period will actually begin January to June. And this is really where you'll be able to participate in the TA services, where we ask you to fill out some reporting information for us just so that we can track your story of success. That will all happen during that period where we'll have the workshops, the networking, etc. So with that, I think I can turn it over to you, Morgan, for questions.
All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope everybody was able to get a lot of their questions answered through Brianna and Debbie's introduction of the Wild Seed, of our grants, of all the opportunities that we have. Right now, I'm happy to pull some of the questions that we had in the chat out and make sure that we're answering them both for the questioner and for everybody else that might have had the same thoughts. So one of the first questions that we had is, will we have access to the recording of this webinar? Yes, it will be available on our website. You'll be able to click and see a recording of the webinar, as well as our slides will be made available to you as well. Another question was, is your focus for-profit businesses or are nonprofits welcome to apply? The answer is yes, nonprofits are welcome to apply and they are eligible. However, they must be revenue generating. So just reiterating what Brianna had mentioned before, using the examples that she gave, as long as your nonprofit has a portion of its revenue that comes from earned revenue, maybe you sell something, you sell products, you sell services in addition to grant funding that you might receive, then you would be eligible to apply. Next question, if our business does not require a business license and is not a 501c3, what should we submit instead? So a lot of businesses, mine included, is in this boat. So you might not need a business license, but what you can submit is your certificate of status from the Secretary of State. You can get that on their website. It's an easy download. I believe it is $5, but it's good and useful to have as part of your core documents anyway. All right, so if my business opens in November of 2024, can I apply for the grant, i.e. for startup costs, capital funds, and et cetera, et cetera? Inventory and build out is fine for the grant in general. However, we do encourage you to apply in our next round of funding because we would like to see that you have a little bit more of a foundation already established for your business. And so for this round of funding, you may not be as competitive an applicant as other applicants that have a little bit more of a foundation. We do, though, have this round of funding every 6 months. So instead of waiting a year, you only need to wait around March or April. We'll have another round opening for another opportunity to pursue funding. I think that this is one of those opportunities where you can see what the requirements are. You can see what it is that you need in order to be competitive, and you can work towards that for the next 6 months. And it'll be a great asset to your business, and it'll put you in a great position for this funding. Let's see. Can the grant be used towards payment of your team's services, such as website development? Absolutely. You can use the funds for services, including our own. I believe that Malik in particular already put his information in the chat if that's something you want to utilize. Just keep in mind that as a grantee, you will already receive a good handful of our services. But if there are services outside of that scope that you would like to pursue, then yeah, we are available for hire in that sense. The next one. I own 2 businesses and work on another with a co-owner. Can I be eligible for all 3, or can I only submit 1 application? All right, so here's the thing. We do have 3 different grant types, and you can submit for all 3 grant types, but you will only be awarded for 1. And so my recommendation for you is to prioritize which grant it is that you feel like would be most effective for your organization. And decide which one you want to pursue. And also keep in mind that as a grantee this round, it makes you ineligible for the next round. So think really about how you want to position yourself, what funding will support you the most, and move forward in that way. Let's see. My business is registered in Riverside County, but I operate in LA County. Am I still eligible? So because this is county funds, they are very, very much looking for businesses that are invested in LA County. And so if you're registered in a different county, it may make your application a little bit less competitive. However, the fact that your impact is in LA County gives you room to argue your point. I would say that you should go ahead and make a case for how your business, regardless of where it is headquartered, is making a unique and deep impact in the LA County ecosystem and in our community out here. I will just say, though, that it does decrease your competitiveness compared to those businesses that are established and headquartered in LA County. But please feel free to submit the application and we will certainly consider it. All right, let's see, where are we now? My business closed during the COVID shutdown. Can grant funds support with my reopening? This, I will say, I definitely invite you to apply to this funding. Your business was functioning before COVID. We all understand what the impact COVID had on businesses. And this type of funding is the funding that we want to utilize in order to support the regrowth and the reinvestment of those businesses that have a history, that have connections, that have a community, and may just need a little bit of support to re-energize what it is you were doing. Yes, you are eligible to apply. We want to see what you were doing. We want to see where you want to go now. Please keep in mind that we will want to see your financials. And so maybe offline, or you can email us directly about what your financials are looking like, because we will need to see the last few years. And if you haven't recorded, or if you completely paused and you may not have the financials, we would want to see what that is looking like so we can help coordinate with you in order to meet that requirement, depending on what your situation is. We definitely invite you to apply. We're sorry that your business stalled, but we believe that you can restart that and it's going to be great for our future. Let's see. Can I submit my copy of my statement of information filing confirmation with the California Secretary of State? You can submit that. It is a legal document. I will say that for consistency's sake, we would really love for you to submit your certificate of status from the Secretary of State. It's on the same website where you submitted your info filing confirmation. It's a short letter. It's something signed by the Secretary of State, and it's dated and has all of the relevant information on that. We would really love for you to submit that if you don't have your business license available. Okay. And then I think I may have caught up with the questions in the chat. So if anybody wants to raise their hand and we can unmute you if there's any questions that you would like to ask verbally, you can do that now. I'll give it a few more seconds just to hold space. This Q&A. And in the meantime, I'll let you know too that, as Brianna said before, we do have a Q&A on our website. We have our grant guidelines on our website. We try to provide as much information and resources and support that we can to answer all of your questions, to make sure that you feel prepared to apply for our grant. We hope that everything that we've provided for you today has been informative. All of the questions that you have asked today, we will be sure to add to our frequently asked questions. So you'll be able to check back in with our website to see or have a refresher of what the answers were to the questions that were brought up today. If you have other questions that you may have that you thought of after the fact, feel free to email info@thewildseed.org and Janine will be answering that. I see one hand raised. I wonder if Brianna, you can unmute Miss Bell there.
Hi, thank you. I just have one final question based on another participant's question. So if you kind of have a startup or a company that you're just starting, and I'm looking maybe to wait in that 6-month period, what type of things are you looking for? Like what type of growth should we be focused on in that time for the next round of funding?
That is a great question. And first things first, I would really suggest that you have your strong foundation. So that's your business documentation, your license, your LLC designation, if that's what you're looking for, your EIN, that you have a very strong focus on what it is you're trying to build and your plan for building that. For us, we understand that a lot of organizations may not have their tax returns, for example, but we do want to see your profit and loss. And so if you started your business, if you're starting to see the revenue come in or the expenses going out, we want to see what that looks like during this 6-month period. We want to be able to have a good understanding of the projection of your financials based off of what you've been able to establish so far. And we want to have an understanding around your vision for how you're going to use the grant based off of the experiences that you've been having in your business so far. I do hope that you stay for our workshop because that's another part of what we'll be talking through is your mission, your vision, and your value statement. We want to see that you have a really strong hold on your why you're doing it, what your impact is going to be, why it has to be you. And I believe that it has to be you doing what you're doing. And we want to know what that story is. And we want to see how this funding is going to accelerate that story and accelerate that impact. And so I hope I answered your question, but it's basically a lot of the groundwork that you might need for your business and the vision for where you want to go and the steps for that, I would say should be your focus for this next 6 months.
Yeah, Morgan, I think you really covered it. And I appreciate these questions that are really asking about businesses that are at a variety of different stages in their development, from like startup to restarting. We do want to support businesses on the all across the spectrum. We also recognize up to $20,000 isn't a whole lot of money, and so we do need to make sure that there's some infrastructure already there so that we can ensure that there's a greater likelihood for success. And so that's why we're like, there needs to be some foundation, like some stuff for us to work with so that we can really help to take you to the next level versus like a full-on startup.
Yeah. So thank you for those great questions. Thank you for all the questions that you put in the chat. I don't see any other hands, I don't believe.
There's another question that just came through the chat about, is the grant application Word doc available on the site? I don't know. I sent it to Malik this morning, so it might not be. But again, if it's not, then we will make sure to have that up as soon as possible.
Yes. But feel free, me being a grant writer myself, I'm definitely used to going through the grant and just creating your own document. You don't have to wait for us. You can be proactive. You can go ahead and create your own Word doc to work from, and we encourage that. But we will do our best to provide as many resources as possible to make it as easy as possible.
I have a question.
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, on the email that I received, it said the grant was due September 13th, but on your website on the key dates, it says September 10th. So I just want to clarify what is the actual date it's due?
September 13th.
Thanks, Lydia, for flagging that. We will update the site to reflect that.
Okay.
And then, as another question in the chat, will you have workshops on putting together all of your financials? We do have quite a few workshops that will be open and available. Putting together your financials, thank you for the suggestion. That is definitely something that we can make sure that we make available. Again, this is our first round of grant funding. You guys have been an instrumental part in helping us to shape how we go about the services that we're trying to provide in this granting process. And so creating TA for the application process is something we've definitely identified as something that will be super helpful, super beneficial for all of our applicants and our community. So thank you for that. We will be sure to incorporate that into our planning.
And then Giovanni's hand is raised.
Okay.
I also just dropped it in the chat. Hey, y'all, thank you so much. This is absolutely wonderful. I would just like to know about a strategy for applying for multiple or deciding if whether we should apply for multiple, because I can definitely, there's an argument to be made for all of them in case of our business. Yeah, just do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, well, one thing I would keep in mind is this is one-time funding. And
Okay.
so one of the things that we want to see is how our funding will be a catalyst for you. And
Okay.
so if the funding is something that, oh, I want to buy a printer, you know, and that's great. It's beautiful. It's really, really helpful to any business if that's what you're looking for, equipment. But how will that serve you going forward? If the funding is actually, oh, I want to rent a space so I can host these workshops for the next year,
Yeah.
then that is a way that you can frame your position to say your one-time funding is going to fuel my mission and my passion for the next 6 months or the next 12 months. That's one way to look at it, because we do want to see that our funding can support you in the long run, even though it is just a one-time investment.
Okay, great. That's very helpful. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I'll also just add, for this particular round, just because we're trying to get the most amount of money out during this period, we will be giving out like a little bit more capital grants than the other types of grants. So we've been seeing more applications coming in for that, but that's also where we'll be giving the most grants. So just a little bit of.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so another question came through. Is there a way to take advantage of your rich TA offerings aside from one-off workshops if you are not a grantee? So our offerings for our public offerings are generally the workshops that we're going to have. Outside of that, you can engage any of our businesses directly and talk to us directly about our services and things like that. Outside of that, we don't have a system right now to engage specific TA services or direct services for folks that are not grantees and is outside of our workshops. But again, we're a growing organization. We're growing in our shaping of what this is, and so all of those things are things that we consider based off of the need that our community is indicating that they have. Right now, however, there's not a pathway for that in particular.
Other than like reaching out directly to the business and
I've been reaching out directly.
Almise has her hand up.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Good to see your faces again, Brittany and Morgan. I'm so glad to be here on behalf of my team at Justice is Joy. Just a few clarifying questions. So again, I'm kind of stuck up with providing some documentation on our financials because we essentially don't have any. Our business is probably all of 3 or 4 months old. We do have a bank account where we have a bit of capital in there. And I guess my question is, do we just submit that bank statement from our business account? Would that suffice, or are you looking for anything else?
This question I am going to answer briefly myself, but I would love to pass it to our fractal team to elaborate. But what we're looking for is a profit and loss. And so that might be what profit you're bringing in and then what expenses are going out so far. But I think another way to supplement this requirement, if you don't have your tax return or if you don't have years of financial history, one way that you can supplement that is a forecast, a financial forecast based off of the experiences that you have had. And I know for Justice and Joy in particular, you each have your own understanding of the field. You each have your own understanding of what it takes and requires to do the work that you're doing. And so all of that can kind of go into your forecast because you're very well versed and familiar with what those expenses look like, even if you're only 3 months right now in this particular endeavor. Being able to paint that picture for us financially and then support it with the research and or the experience that you've had in these last 3 months will help that greatly. And I just want to pass it to Fractal just in case I'm missing something in that question.
No, I think that's right. I think the projections or forecasts, just to give us some insight on where you think your business would be going financially, can help to supplement if you don't have any current real cash flow data. So that's great.
Okay.
And I just also want to share that there might be a couple of folks who we on the WildSeed team may know who are applying. I just want to let y'all know that none of us on the WildSeed team are actually a part of the review committee. We have identified some folks who work in philanthropy, who work in business and the nonprofit sector, who will actually be reviewing and selecting applications. So you don't have to worry about preferential treatment. And we are having an extensive recusal process so that there's no bias in selection. So just so y'all know.
Yeah, all we can do is wish y'all the best of luck.
Which
we do.
Our question. So that's really helpful. We will prepare a document that tells about our financial forecast or projections. So we're clear on that. Another question I have, because I am reading through the list of things that we cannot fund with any of the 3 grants, but I'm just wondering, I'm not quite clear whether or not the funds could be used for travel. So for instance, we've got this huge convening coming up in the Bay Area where we're based out of LA County. So I do want to clarify that. But we have this massive convening coming up where we're going to be in front of 100 schools, right? In the Bay Area. And for us to get from here to the Bay Area hotel, there's some other things we need to prepare as a business, especially around branding and all the things for us to look credible and legit and not just look it, but for the folks to feel it, right? Will these grant fundings be able to cover if we are awarded any of those costs for this convening?
Yeah, you can use it for travel. When we say housing for employees, what we mean is like permanent housing. Like you can't use it to pay the rent of someone who works for the company. That's just a county requirement.
Okay.
But travel, I'm pretty sure you can, as long as I know you can. What I don't know for sure is if it covers international travel. I know in some of so we'll need to clarify that. But any domestic travel, you can utilize it for that if it's in service of your business and taking your business to the next level. Okay, 2 more questions. We got to just doing a time check so we can have enough time for the workshop. Destiny's hand was first, and then Kristen.
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm deaf and hard of hearing, so I use sign language as for communication, but I do have closed captioning to understand what you're saying. So, my question is, can we use funding for that is ongoing services like interpreters? We need interpreters. We need equipment to help us like with closed caption and stuff. Will the funding be good for that?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah,
Okay. But even though it's like this is like we need this every day, like if we need interpreters for help us to get a job, help us with just socializing and networking and all that, would that be a part of that? Even though if it is a lot, like it's required a lot of funding for that part specifically.
for sure. Yeah, when we say like this is one-time funding, it doesn't necessarily mean it's funding a one-time project. So you can utilize this one-time funding to support ongoing services. It's just that this funding will help to take your ongoing services to the next level. So with more equipment, now you can service more companies and organizations who need your service, and that can help you scale. So absolutely.
Okay, that's awesome. And also, would you guys be able to have an interpreter from this point on? It would be awesome for me if I join your next meeting.
I love that. We definitely want to prioritize accessibility. And so I think that's really important. We would love to talk to you offline about that to see what we can do.
Okay.
Shout
Thank you
out
so
for,
much.
yes, I love that. Shout out for like publicizing your services too. That's good.
Thank you. I work for Women Blessing Women. Nice to meet you all.
Yay.
Yeah.
Kristen, this will be our last question.
Thank you all so much. And sorry, I'm a bit in transit, so I am not on camera, but thank you all first for just the workshop and all the information today. My question is, if you are applying for, let's say, a capital grant and an eligible expense under that, and the capital cost is like $10,000, so technically it's under the grant requirement, can you still add something that maybe falls in the second tier of a service as long as you're under 20,000, or can you just have to pick one of the categories?
That's a really good question. I think that you should apply for what you need. We know that your needs don't necessarily fall neatly into each of these categories. And so apply for what you need, and the review committee will do our best to be able to determine how, to support that going forward. So if that means that a majority of your expenses fall into the capital category, but you also have additional expenses that especially are complementary to that capital investment that might fall into others, then that's totally fine. And we'll consider that all a part of the capital expense. But I think making that argument on how those other expenses support the capital piece, I think will be really big in supporting the reviewers and being able to determine if your proposal aligns with those priorities.
Perfect.
T, I don't know if you want to chime in on that, but yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. From a grant writing perspective, I would package it. And so there's one thing to have a capital expense and say like, oh, this is what I'm doing, but being able to say, and in addition to that, this is how I'm going to implement this capital expense, and what I need to implement it is X, Y, and Z to make sure that I am maximizing its use or maximizing its usage and its impact. I think is a good package to present and a good place to go, especially considering our cap is $20,000 for this one grant. And so if you have space within that to make your product or make that purchase even stronger, that's going to be something that's appealing to us.
Thank you so much.
Of course. So we are way over time a little bit for this portion, but that's okay because I think these questions were really, really important, and we're glad that we're able to meet you all, connect with you all, and answer your questions. We are now going to transition over to the next part of our agenda, which is the workshop. But again, just a reminder that if you have any questions, reach out to us, info@wildseed, or that's our number. I don't know what's happening. And then you can also connect with us on social as well. Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna kick it over to you, Marty.